There are currently at least 150 American military advisors in Ukraine, including members of the Florida National Guard. Are those soldiers going to remain in Ukraine? Are there contingency plans if hostilities break out to remove them? What's their disposition?
I would point you to the Department of Defense to ask them that question.
Okay. My colleague mentioned Afghanistan, and one of the things that you hear among Russian propaganda in Ukraine is that the United States is an unreliable ally, that it's using Ukraine as a pawn. And they point to the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan as evidence that the United States cannot be counted on. How does the United States respond to that, and has the Afghanistan withdrawal complicated diplomacy in this regard?
It is not in our experience. The president ended a 20-year war in Afghanistan, something he had talked about consistently doing for some time as he was running for president and even before then. I think our commitment to our NATO partners is clear. Our commitment to Ukrainians is clear. We've sent more security assistance over the last year than in any year in recent history. We've been in constant contact, as is evidenced by the president's call this afternoon, with our European partners as we work to ensure we're in lockstep as we approach the next stage and anticipate what President Putin may or may not do. So what I would say to that is that sounds like the old Russian propaganda playbook, something we've talked about in the past, and I'd encourage anyone to be mindful of that.
And then finally, there's negotiations going on in Congress for Russian sanctions if they do take military action against Ukraine. Does the United States support Congress acting, and are they involved in these negotiations?
We are regularly updating and briefing leaders in Congress and about what steps are under consideration, what the status is of things we're seeing on the ground. Obviously, we've talked about a lot of this publicly as well. And we've also been clear that we have a severe sanctions package of economic options that is under consideration should they decide to invade. We also recently sanctioned a couple of individuals for their engagement as well. But I don't have anything in terms of these specific steps under consideration. We have our own severe steps that we are considering here, and we're keeping Congress abreast of that.
Does it help to have Congress involved?
Well, we're working in lockstep with them. We are briefing them. We are conveying to them what we're thinking about and considering, and of course, getting feedback from them as well. Go ahead.
I recognize that the White House has said that they have, very severe sanctions that are prepared if Russia invades. Is there any thought to enacting sanctions before Russia invades as a form of deterrence, or is that under consideration?
Well, we did announce a couple of sets of sanctions from the Treasury Department last week in response to the involvement of a few individuals. We've also plussed up our security assistance packages that we've been delivering to the Ukrainians, including recent deliveries over the last couple of days. And obviously, as we were talking about earlier in this briefing, there's been discussions about how we can support the security of Eastern flank countries. But also, we are mindful of what we think is the most effective deterrent, and the severe economic sanctions package, something that would be go far beyond what was done and what was on the table in 2014, including the consideration of imposing unprecedented export control measures that would hit hard at President Putin's ambitions, are part of the discussion, and our assessment is that is most effective as a deterrent tool and not as one we would do in advance.
Okay, so you're saying the threat of the sanctions is the most effective deterrent?
Correct.
Tool. I have a question just to follow up. I know that you were asked about Americans who are now in Ukraine, and I know you said that there is no precedent outside of Afghanistan for evacuations in case if there was like some type of military incursion by the Russians. So I just want to be clear: if Americans are still in Ukraine and things start happening with Russia, are they pretty much on their own?
Well, we are conveying very clearly now that now is the time to leave, and that there are means to do that. Of course, there's commercial airlines. You can depart over land. There's obviously the embassy there to provide assistance. And this is very similar to what we did in Ethiopia, Kazakhstan, and many other countries over the course of the last several decades. But there is not an intention or a plan for any military evacuation.
And just quickly, in the past, another call with Putin was still on the table. I believe that the president was supposed to talk with his advisors about that this weekend. Like, have any decisions been made about that? Will there be another call or another talk with Putin?
The president remains open to leader diplomacy, of course. He knows how effective that can be, but I don't have anything to predict or preview at this point in time in terms of a call between them.